welcome to my first Q&A session on YouTube. I've compiled a list of questions from my Mrs. Plant Facebook page here on my YouTube channel and also through email, and I'm going to share a few of those questions with you today. They're a mixture of different topics, so I'm going to kind of jump around, but hopefully you'll get some information that'll help. Okay, my first question is, can I take pre-workout drink mixes while fasting? And I think what she meant is, can I have something that has calories during my 16-8 intermittent fasting during the fasting period? And the answer to that is that while you're fasting during 16-8 intermittent fasting, you shouldn't have anything with calories during the fasting period. And so what I usually do is I drink water. You can also drink black coffee or green tea. I usually don't do either of those. I just drink water and sometimes water with lemon. But you want to make sure that you're not adding any calories to whatever it is that you're drinking. And you certainly shouldn't be eating anything, because that's going to trick your brain into thinking that you're starting to eat again. And then you're going to stop burning fat and you're going to start burning the glucose that comes into your system. So I wouldn't recommend any pre-workout drinks. I would just work out on an empty stomach with some water in it, a little bit, and then just wait until your feeding period to start eating. Okay, my second question is, hi Mrs. Plant. I tend to struggle with dressings and sauces. I can make a huge salad or several baked potatoes, but what do I put on it so it tastes good without all the fat? Okay, so if you're trying to have salad without any additional fat, you probably don't want to make a seed or nut-based dressing. So what I recommend is that you add some salsa to your salad, and I like to add salsa and sometimes nutritional yeast flakes. They do have some fat in them, but it's a very healthy fat. And it's not that much. I would recommend adding that. It gives it kind of a cheesy, tomatoey taste. Or you can do balsamic vinegar. That works really well in a salad as well. And one of my favorites is Napa Valley Naturals 4% acidity Grand Reserve. It's a very, very thick balsamic vinegar, and it's nice because it sticks to all the leaves of lettuce and the vegetables in your salad, and it also gives kind of a sweetness to the salad, almost like you added fruit to it. So that's another suggestion for salad and not adding any additional fat. Also, you can add a very small amount of chia seeds to a vinaigrette dressing. Like, let's say you're making some kind of a berry vinaigrette where you're using some fresh or frozen berries and some vinegar. You can add a little bit of chia seeds, which wouldn't add a ton of fat to it, but it will thicken up the dressing and it will prevent you from having to use oil. And I use chia seeds quite a bit. Now let's talk about potatoes, and we're also going to talk about rice, because that's another thing that some people have asked me about. So potatoes, I do one of two things with potatoes. Either I open up my baked potato and I mash down the potato a little bit, and then I add in some unsweetened soy milk and some nutritional yeast flakes and a little bit of salt and some black pepper, and I mash that all in, and it kind of tastes like a cheesy potato. Also, we make some vegan bacon bits out of TVP. I have a recipe on my website for those, and we really don't use them for anything else, just for the potatoes. So when we have a baked potato night, we'll add a few of those to it, because normally I don't care for TVP, but in this case it works out really well. They really taste like bacon bits, and they're smoky and salty, and they're really good. So I would recommend those. Another way to enjoy a potato is to make oat cheese, which is an oat-based cheese. It gives you the oats that you need for the day. And it kind of reminds me of Velveeta, the really soft, like liquidy Velveeta sauce that you can buy that's probably full of chemicals. It has that same consistency, and it's salty like that, and has a cheesy flavor, and it's super fast to whip up. I have that recipe on my website as well. It's called oat cheese, so you can find that on my website. And lastly, related to this topic, rice. So I try to eat brown rice as much as possible, but once in a while I like to have jasmine or basmati rice if I'm eating some kind of an ethnic dish that would be better with that type of rice. So if I'm eating Asian dishes, I tend to like jasmine rice more, and of course with Indian dishes, I love basmati rice. But other than that, I pretty much always eat brown rice. And if you just want to have a bowl of rice just to get some carbs in and just even if it's just like you're in a rush and you don't have anything else to eat. What I like to add to that is either a few toasted sesame seeds, or you can add gomasio, which is a toasted sesame seed and kelp mixture, or you can use a seaweed mixture that goes in that, and it's a little bit salty, a little bit little toasty and sesame, and you can just put a little bit on top of that. I have a recipe for that also on my website, so you can check that out. It's gomasio, and it's Gomasio. So I had a question. My question is about 16-8 intermittent fasting. Did you look up your total daily energy expenditure, your TDEE, and count calories to eat below the number? Okay, that's a good one, because I actually don't count calories, and there's good and bad things about that. The reason that I don't count calories is because I try most of the time to eat whole plant foods, so I'm not really keeping track of my calories. But really my main reason for not counting calories is that for years and years I was on every diet out there, and every diet was based on counting points or counting calories, and it always just stressed me out all the time. And so I decided that with this lifestyle, since a lot of people said you really don't need to count calories, you need to pay more attention to the food that you're ingesting, that I just would not count any calories. So for me, I don't count calories. Now, that said, for a long time during my first big chunk of weight loss, that worked great because I was eating so much healthier than what I was eating before. And so really, no matter what, I couldn't eat more calories than I was eating before on my highly calorie dense diet of eating fast food and animal-based foods. And so it was pretty easy to lose weight just by changing the food. But then I was realizing that I was eating the same calories that I was eating back when I weighed more, and so then my weight loss stalled. And it made me start thinking, should I be looking at how many calories I'm actually taking in? And if I found out that I was eating more calories than I needed to be eating to lose weight, would I actually reduce the amount of food that I was eating? And it's been really a challenge for me to make that decision. I'm really still in that place where I don't want to go back to counting calories. So, and since my weight loss plateau, I've only lost a few more pounds. And so I'm kind of at a place where I'm not sure what I want to do. I really don't want to go back to writing everything down and making this so high maintenance, because that's exactly what caused me to not want to commit to the lifestyles or the diets, I should say, that I did before. So I think at this point I'm going to continue to just be eating the whole plant foods that I'm eating and trying to pay more attention to when I'm full. Also, one of the things that I was doing probably wrong, I know I was doing it wrong, when I started 16-8 intermittent fasting, is I was eating during the 8-hour feeding period whenever I wanted. So I would eat a big lunch, and then if I felt like a snack, I would have one. Even if I wasn't really hungry, I would eat something like some fruit, a quarter of a watermelon, a couple mangoes, I might have a bowl of rice, and then I would have dinner. And so I was probably ingesting too many calories within that feeding period. And so now what I'm trying to focus on now is just having a large lunch, nothing until dinner, and then a large dinner. And then I'm also making sure that I'm exercising regularly just to keep my body moving and burning calories. Because remember, as you get older, and I'm 52 years old and a woman, and I've had a hysterectomy, so I have already supposedly gone through the change in life, I don't burn as many calories anymore. My metabolism isn't as good as a younger person, so I have to do some things to kind of kick it up, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to do everything I can possibly do besides count calories at this time. So that's the answer to my question. I hope that explained for you. Okay, so the next question is, hello, what's a better source of omega-3? Flax or chia seeds? That's a great question. On nutritionfacts.org, which is a great website with tons of information from Dr. Michael Greger, who wrote the best-selling book, How Not to Die, one of my favorite books. He does a comparison video on flax seeds and chia seeds, and both of them do contain a great amount of omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential for us. But he also compared fiber and lignans. Lignans are the cancer-fighting properties that are in those. And what he found was that chia seeds actually have more fiber than flax seeds, and flax seeds actually have more lignin. So I tend to eat more flaxseed. And again, remember, those flax seeds need to be ground in order to get the benefit of the omega-3 fatty acids. So I tend to do more of the ground flax seeds, but I use chia seeds sometimes on top of my smoothie bowls when I have one, or I'll use them in a salad dressing to thicken it. But generally, I use more ground flax seeds. I would say that both of them are great. And on top of that, you might also include in your diet a small amount of walnuts, which also provide omega-3 fatty acids. And those are great for us because we're not eating fish. So we're not getting any of the omega-3 fatty acids from fish. And fish contain a lot of heavy metals, so I certainly wouldn't want to get my omega-3 fatty acids from fish. Okay, the next question is, I understand fasting is beneficial, but with the 16-8 intermittent fasting, approximately 2 meals in that time, how does a person get enough calories? That's a good question. Now, for somebody like me who still is wanting to lose some more weight, it's not a problem because I actually need to be more careful to pay attention to how much I am eating versus a person like my son who does 16-8 intermittent fasting. He's of a normal weight. He is a cyclist and a runner, and he is actually needing to take in a lot more calories. He might go out and ride his bike for 30 miles and burn almost a day's worth of calories. So how do you get that food in? Well, I recommend eating very high calorie dense foods for people that don't want to lose weight. They actually want to maintain their weight, and if they're very active people. So that would mean making sure that you add in a little bit more of the higher calorie dense whole plant foods. Like maybe you would have a little bit of avocado every day, maybe even a half an avocado every day, or you might add some nuts and seeds or a little bit of nut butter. If you're not trying to lose weight, having a small amount of all of that every day, 2 to 3 ounces of nuts or seeds a day is okay. You're not going to gain weight, and it's actually going to be good for you. So for people like that, now I know my son says that when he is out on a really long ride, he'll eat a lot of dates. Dates are very high calorie dense because they're a dried fruit. So you might have more dried fruits. You might have larger portions of whole grains. Like instead of having a cup of rice, you might have 2 cups of rice at a time, or you might have 2 to 3 sweet potatoes at a time. So I think as long as you're eating a little bit higher calorie dense foods during the feeding period, you're going to get enough calories for those of you that are not trying to lose weight. Okay, the next question I have is, Mrs. Plant, I'm not losing any more weight, but I'm eating whole plant foods. What's the deal? Okay, I would say a lot of people that eat a whole foods plant-based diet are going to come across a time when they sort of plateau in their weight loss. And it can be a number of things. I know I personally have gone through this, and it's not really something that you should worry about, but you should take a look at what might be going on. So it can be a number of things. One of the things it could be is that you're not exercising. You don't have any movement in your life. So you want to make sure that you're getting some kind of exercise, whether it's walking every day, jogging, riding your bike, doing a little bit of aerobic exercise, playing tennis, being on a baseball team, whatever it is that you're doing, that you're active somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour every day or more. If you want to do longer, like Dr. Greger says, up to 90 minutes is actually really better. The second thing you want to look at is how high calorie dense you are eating. So are you eating a whole avocado every day? Are you eating 2 to 3 ounces of nuts and seeds a day? Really being honest with yourself about whether or not you're having 2 to 3 tablespoons of peanut butter every day. What is it that you're actually ingesting? Yes, those foods are whole, but they can contain a lot of calories and fat that can stall weight loss. So even for me personally, I've had to look at what I'm eating. I realized, I didn't think I was doing this, but I realized that I was having a lot of products with flour. Like I was having tortillas and I was having pasta. And I realized that those are very high calorie dense foods. And so I started to focus more on eating the whole grain foods, like having more potatoes and more brown rice and more regular rice, and having even other things like quinoa and barley. So just taking a look at how many high calorie dense foods you're eating and trying to reduce that and eat more of the foods that are under 600 calories, meaning they are the non-starchy vegetables, fruits, whole grains in their whole form, meaning potatoes, rice, corn, quinoa, barley, oh my gosh, millet. There's so many different types, but not ground down into flours. Having a cup and a half of beans every day, that's tough sometimes for people to get those beans in. I try to throw beans on my salad. I'll sometimes have beans on the side with a meal if I haven't had enough beans for the day, or I try to incorporate them into our meals. All different kinds of beans, black beans, we might make chilies, we put them in soups and stews. And it just makes it easier because those are very, very filling. They have high fiber, very low fat, and so you are not going to gain weight by eating beans. Beans are so, so good for you. And then these starchy vegetables, like you might want to have some, not a ton, but of things like butternut squash, spaghetti squash, pumpkin, things like that, that again, they're under 600 calories per pound, but they're going to be satiating and filling for you. And then trying to just, again, reduce some of the things that are above 600 calories per pound, like avocados, which are 750 calories per pound. And then as you get up into the nuts and seeds, an issue for me was my husband and I love dark chocolate, and we liked having a little bit every day, but that can stall weight loss. And you have to be realistic and say, hey, maybe I can't have a little bit of dark chocolate every day. Maybe I should have a taste of it once a week, or maybe just cut it out for now when I'm trying to lose weight. Anyway, so that's the end of my first Q&A. I have some more questions, but I want to compile more to do a second Q&A. Please feel free to put your comments below or ask additional questions. And always email me at mrsplantontexas@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me, and come back soon.